Welcome. In this tutorial, I'm going to start the photography site, which is in the supplemental pages that you should have downloaded from Canvas. And we're going to take this slow. I want to make sure that you feel comfortable. So I'm going to do a little bit more talking than I normally do in my videos, do a little bit of explanation because it's very, very important that you understand the difference between live view and design view, what you can do in each view, and the fact that you can do the same thing 3 different ways. I don't really have a preference which way you do it. I want you to see how the different things can work and what you can do, what you can't do, and just make up the mind whatever you want to do, the way you do it, you feel most comfortable, that is fine. I work more in design view than I do in live view. I'm really not a big fan of it. I work a lot in code view and I work a lot in split view, but mostly I work in design view. That's what I feel comfortable with, but I will show you the advantages of split view, and as we progress in our modules, you're going to see the difference between using code view to select and using design view or live view to select, and some of the things that you can do in code view that you just can't do in design or live view. So the very first thing it wants you to do is obviously review some of the colors and things of that nature, which you can do on your own. I'm going to start by opening up the index file, which is right here. Let me close that, and I'll drag this over here. And now we have it. So I'm going to minimize this by clicking this here, and I'm going to move it over here. Actually, I'm going to move it on my other screen, which you can't see, so it's out of the way. So that's what you're going to do. Take a look at this over here. It really looks kind of ugly. This is design view. Once I click in live view, it's going to change. You can see the boxes around here, other than some other boxes here. Other than that, there's nothing really exciting happening. Once we do it, you can see the beveled edges over here, which is actually used from CSS and corners and the radius. You can see now that you don't have the boxes. Put my mouse over here, it changes to the finger, which is the pointer, and you can see some subtle differences over here. I'm going to show you one thing. Let's go back to design view. If I want to click in here and modify it, I just click one time. And it's just like Microsoft Word. Click over here, click over here. If I'm in design view, it's totally different. So let's start over here. And I just finished number 6. We're going to go and start in placing an image in regular view. So it wants us to open. It wants us to be in split view. Being in split view, you're going to see what's selected versus what looks like it's being selected. And often you're missing a letter. Often you're missing a tag. If you're in code view or you have code view open in split view, you can see exactly what's going on. So we have this over here. We're in split view over here, showing both design and code in here. And what it wants us to do now is be in design view. So let's change this to design view. And that takes care of that. I'm on the next page over here, and I'm going to select the words insert image here. Now be very careful when you're selecting it. You don't want to select the paragraph tags. So let me click in here, and you see where you have the paragraph tags over here. You don't want to delete those, and you'll see why as we insert the actual image. So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to do my favorite way of selecting is using the arrow keys and the shift key. So you can see as I'm going by here in code view, you're seeing what's being selected. Once I take care of that, it's going to ask me to delete it. So I'm just going to hit the delete key. And notice that the text is replaced with ampersand and BSB. That's what's called a non-breaking space. You'll see more about that later on in many of the actual modules over here. And basically, it's just a dummy space. so that you actually have some content inside a tag as opposed to having absolutely nothing. So now what we're going to do is we're going to click on the File Windmill in the Files panel, and we're just going to drag it. So let me take my Files panel back over here, open that, and all I'm going to do is click and drag. And of course, if I actually did the right file, that would be good. We're doing the windmill. By the way, undo is your friend. If you make a mistake, just click on the undo. If you say, oh no, I really meant to do that, then you can redo it. So now we have the actual windmill over here. Remember one thing, very, very, very important. Every time you put an image into a file, make sure that you put alt text over here. So it's going to tell us to put in the alt text about us link. Okay, once we do that, okay, I've got to visit. My dog has just decided to show up. So I have to stop and pet her. She's not going to let me alone. Anyway, I just did number 7 in here. So now we have the tag selector you saw over here. We're going to look in the image, and I'm just looking at some of the things over here, and you see it has a source, a width, and a height, and the alt tag. These are the properties down here. If you don't have the properties, just go to Window and Properties. And once you find them, they're there. I don't know why they're not there, but, oh, there they are. Okay, properties right here. So if you don't see it, just click on it, and they're there. Okay, so now you can see down over here, we have the sources, the images. This is a link if we wanted to go to another file outside the web where this would click, or to another page, we would use that here. The class over here will understand a little bit more, and it's giving us the height and the width. This little icon here, the lock, so you can see it's closed now, and now it's open by clicking on it. What that will do for you is if you want to adjust the width, it will also adjust the height. If you want to adjust the height, it will also adjust the width. That way your image, if it gets resized, it gets resized proportionally, which you're actually going to see. Okay, so we're going to take that. It tells us to save. Remember, save often. Save often. Save often. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to insert an image through the image file, the image panel. Very, very easy. We're going to do the same, basically the same steps over here. So we need to be in the design view again, and then we're going to click the live, which is here. And notice that it looks a little bit nicer in here. But once I click on the insert image here to delete it, it doesn't happen. All it does is now select the actual element. If I want to do something, I've got to double click on it. So that actually now double clicking allows me to now edit in there. So what we're going to do is we're going to delete all of the words that are in that file. So let's go right over here, and we're going to drag all the way down. And notice that it's selected over here. I'm going to hit the delete key. That takes care of that. So that was number 5. Now it tells us we have to click away from the element. The reason being is we're still in editing mode. So just click anywhere to get out of it. Now you can see that the P is still there. So we're not in editing mode anymore. We clicked away. Then we're going to go into the insert panel, which I have right over here. And I'll move it here. And what we want to do is we're going to insert an image from that. So we have the P element selected. And all we're going to do is click the image button right here one time. Once we do, it gives us a little thing. Do we want to place it before, after, wrap, or next in here? Well, what we want to do is we want to nest it. What that means is we want to put it inside this blue border. If I chose after, it would put it after the P element. But even if you do it, it's not a big problem. You can move it very easy. So we're going to nest it. Then it just brings up, well, what do we want to put there? And we're going to put the change. So we click on change, click on OK, and now put it in there. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to actually edit the alt text. So we're going to put in calendar link. Okay, that takes care of that. I'm going to hit the enter key, and that takes the alt tag and finalize it. Now it tells us to click away from the image to deselect it and save the file. So we click anywhere and it's saving the file. Seems pretty easy. Next we're going to do is on page 11, which is drag and drop an image from the insert panel. Basically the same thing. We're in live view, only we're not clicking on the image, we're actually going to drag it. So what I'm going to do here is, again, I'm going to click and double click so I can select, and I'm going to drag. And to get that I, finally get the I, hit the insert or the delete key. That takes care of that. So I'm actually on page 11. Then I'm going to click away. And then I'm going to take the image, and now I'm just going to drag it. See how you have the blue button, the little box over here? I'm going to click right in the middle of it. I'm still holding my mouse button down. Then I'm letting go. Then it's going to ask me what I want. I want the wheel. Click on OK. And boom, it put it right in the middle of that. Then, of course, we need to put in the alt text. So that's number 11 and part of 12. So it wants us to put gallery link. So put gallery link here. Takes care of that. We'll click out here. That is number 7 and 8 is to save. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to insert an image with the assets panel, and we're going to resize it. Again, you can insert the image however way you want to do it. I usually just click on the top and go insert image and select it. However, that's just my personal preference. So the first thing we need to do is get rid of the logo again up top. And we need the assets. If you don't have your assets open, go to Window and make sure you have assets. That'll click it there. And here are my assets. And you can see all of the files and all of the pictures are all showing up. So what we're going to do here is we're just going to drag it and insert it. It's really very easy. So I'm actually on the bottom of 12. It tells us over here, select, delete the words, insert logo here, which we've already done. Open the assets panel, which we've already done. It and tells you window and assets over here. Click the refresh site list, which is right here, just to make sure everything shows over here. Then we want to select the Crow Photography PNG, which is this. And with the empty header element selected, we're going to click the insert button. Now, we have not deleted the insert logo yet, so let's do that. Okay, so we have that here, so let's click outside it. Okay, now we have the header. I'm clicking on this, and I'm just clicking on insert. And then where does it want to go? It wants us to nest it. Now, here's a problem. Well, let me go into live. And here's a problem. See how big it is. It's obviously too big. That's where we're going to resize it, and that's where you're going to see where the lock button is going to come in handy. So what we need to do is we're going to turn off live view. Why they say turn off live view instead of just going into design view, I don't know. So we have it over here, and it's still big in here. So the next thing we're going to do is resize it. So we have to do on my number 2, we're going to click on the place image to select it if necessary, which I've already done. You know it's selected because it has the boxes around it, and you can see that it has the resizing. So let me drag this over to my other screen, get it out of the way. Let me drag this to my other screen, get it out of the way. Now notice we have it over here. So once I start dragging it, and always drag from the corner, and drag in. I always hold the shift. Now you can see how both the width and the height are changing. So what it wants us to do is physically put in 550 in there. So I'm just going to put in 550. And I need to make sure this is locked. So let's undo this again. And make sure it's locked. And let's put in 550. Remember, undo is your friend. So you can see it's made it 550 to 96, but now it's a little too small. So I'm on number 4 on page 15. The next thing it wants me to do is change the height to be 110. That could be a little bit tricky. You can always, by the way, do not click this checkbox here, because if you do, you'll actually commit the image size and change it. And what we have to do is we have to duplicate that image so that we have an original one and a smaller version, which you'll see. So what we're going to do here is I'm holding the shift key down and I'm dragging, and I'm going to try to get to 110. And if you don't get to 110, just type in 110. So that takes care of that. Now, do not, as I said, do not commit to it. So what I'm going to be in here, I need to be in the Files panel. I cannot do this in Insert or Assets or any other panel. So here are the images, and here is the crow. Now, if you want to see the date of your file, you can just right-click, and you have various different things that you can do. Very easy to do. We'll talk about that in another one. So if you just right-click on Local Files, these are all the things that are available for you. For instance, if I want to know the size as well, I can click on that. So I'm going to get rid of the size. And you might want to have the type. I like the modify date to make sure that I know I have the right version. It's really very easy to mess up. So what I'm going to do here is wants to duplicate it. There are different ways to duplicate it. So I'm just going to right-click and go Edit and Duplicate. Or you can hit Control-D. Or you can hit Control-C to copy and Control-V to paste. So again, do it however way you want to do it. I'm just doing it by the way the book says. Now what it wants me to do is it wants me to change the original file name, which is this. And again, there's different ways. You can right-click and choose Edit. You can try to double-click in here, or you can simply hit the F2 key. Make sure that if you have something selected, do not type. Use your arrow key to get rid of it, and then it wants us to type small. Then you can hit the Enter key. And this is very, very important. Notice we're changing the name of a file that we have associated with it. If you look down over here, it says Crow Photography PNG. If you change the name, you need to make sure this gets changed here. So just click Update. And notice that it changes it down here as well. You'll see that when you start making changes with links in some of the other modules. That takes care of that. We've done the small. Number 10 is update. Okay, now what we want to do is we want to actually commit to change. Now that file is still the same size. Basically what's happening here is, let me drag this out of the way. Basically it's just saying take this file, this image, and show it these dimensions. You know it that way because these are bold. So what we're just going to do is we're going to click on this checkbox here, and we're going to click on OK. And that takes care of that. We're going to save the file. And that is it. So the next video I'm going to have is going to teach a little bit about CSS. So I will try to break these down by different pages in here so you don't have a very long video. Normally I keep my videos to 15 minutes maximum, but I wanted to go a little bit slower on this one. So I'm going to be posting this in Canvas. So if you have any questions whatsoever, please make sure just let me know. So you have a wonderful day.